Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Gompers Dream Team conference call that's been going on now for close to 33 years, which is an amazing feat. And I'm just so excited about this morning's call. It's going to be conversational. And we're going to, Lori Agner, IMD, which is International Marketing Director, and myself are going to interact with Jeannette. But before we start with her amazing story that is going to inspire each and every one of us, I would like to just have Lori share a few thoughts, because Jeannette's from Sweden. And how did you meet Jeannette? She was a total stranger, and we'd like to hear that story.
Amazing coverage of award-winning service.
So if you could please share that story.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a cool story because, like, who knew? You know, we talk about saying yes to things, and this was just a regular day for me. And a mutual friend of Jeannette and mine invited us to both go and hear some music together, and it happened to be just right where I lived. So I said yes, and that's how I met Jeannette. And so both Jeannette and my friend Jeannette, keep those two straight. They are from Sweden, and it's just so cool how it happened. So we both said yes. We're there. We met. We're listening to music and live music, and somehow we got on the, well, not somehow, right? Health comes up in all conversations, like all the time. So it came up. And I think we must have started talking about growing food, because I had just planted my tower garden at the time. And that's what we started talking about. And so I said to Jeannette, I come up and see my tower garden, because I lived right there. So after the music, she said yes. And she came up and saw the tower garden. And that's where I was able to learn a little bit more about her. As well, because again, we had just met. So it was that simple. Yeah, and she started talking about how she runs or is a runner and does triathlon. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, have you ever heard of Juice Plus? I remember saying that at one point. We were standing at the tower garden, and she said, no, I've never heard of it. So that's how it started.
And so, Jeannette, I would love you to start out sharing your story, because you were kind of a late comer, as far as, I think it was early 40s, I believe, that you decided what? You had a dream, a goal.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So first of all, thank you I'm honored to be here, and thank you for coming and listening to my story today. So yes, I moved from Sweden in 2000, and I had no idea. I had no background in any athletic, features, you would say. I didn't know how to swim. I didn't know how to run correctly, and bike basically was just going to transportation, back and forth to the store. So coming to United States, I was very quickly introduced to triathlon here in Colorado. And I thought maybe I didn't know anyone in this country. And she said, it's like, what is triathlon? Oh, you swim, you bike, and you run. And there's this women's team that you can join. So I thought maybe I can get to know people here in this country by joining. So I did. And a year later, I did my first triathlon, and it was amazing to finish this. It was a sprint. So basically you start off with a sprint of, you swim about 600 meters and between 15 to 17 miles of biking, and then you run a 5K. And coming as a totally beginner, for me, that was a big, big step. So I thought, when I finished that one, and like I could barely swim across that lake, and I had to hold on to little paddle boarders, those to hold me, and I was panicked in the swim. But I finished my first race, and from there, it just like, wow, I really enjoy this. And the best part was that I felt I did something me personally, I've never ever thought I was ever, to do anything athletic in my life. So that was the start of my little journey there to get through with other women and men, seeing them and meeting these people that I was in awe of. They could do all these long distances and marathons, half marathons, and Ironman or longer. And as the years went, I just kind of started to get together with this community of other athletes. And so that's how it started. And it's been quite a journey. So as I grew and learned more and more with this sport, of course, I met other women, and they were training for these long distances. And to me, it was like, no way I can ever think of doing something like that. But it is like with anything, right? You have starting to find a passion, and you just stay with it. You don't give up. And at that time when I started, my kids were small. I have 3 kids and married. And so I couldn't commit so much time. But as they grew, my distance grew. So I became, longer and longer distances. In 2011, I decided to do my first Ironman. And if you don't know what Ironman distance is you swim 2.2 mile swim, you bike 112 miles, and then you run a full marathon, which is 26.2 miles. So that was on my 50th year. So I turned 50, like what Cynthia said. I started when I was in my early 40s. So these years was kind of like stepping stones for me to get to this long endurance sports. So I did 2 Ironman around my 50th birthday because I was so excited. I found these great races that I thought, well, I can tell you that journey to do an Ironman is definitely it was a big eye opener for me, because it's a lot, you got to put in your body and time, commitment, training, focus on where you're going, right? And I did that. And I thought at that time, how it's more like it's starting like a little seed growing. So when I decided to join this Ironman, it was more like, how far can I go? What can my body actually do? So to finish something like that was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I actually finished. And that was my only goal, to finish an Ironman. And so then I continued. I fell in love with that distance, believe it or not. It was fun, longer rides and longer runs, but doing it, first of all, with a community. I would never, and I have to just say, going back to all these years, the triathlon community is a big part of, my, that has helped me. But my husband was my back row. I couldn't have done this without him, because he's yelling back, yay. And so and my doctor Kayla, he's a chiropractor. She has held me on for all my injuries and everything that I gone through in life. So back to when I met Lori, I had started to get in my mindset that, well, maybe I can too try to qualify to this world championship in Hawaii, where everybody is trying to aim to do this final world championship. And so the seed started to grow. And so I'm starting all these Ironman to try to win my age group. So Ironman, in any triathlon, you're competing against other women or other men, depending, so I had to win my age group to really make sure that I get to the world championship. Now you can also get roll downs and things like that. But for me, I put that in as a goal. I am going to win one Ironman so I can go to the world championship.
Hey, Jeannette, let me just stop you right there, because for everybody that's listening, there's so much that you've said, like, and I'm sure they're hearing it. Does this not sound like our business? Like, I mean, what? Like you make a decision, and I just want to point that out. Like, you make a decision to do something. You talked about community. right? To have people to do it with. Like these elements are so important. And I love just how open you were with me that day. We were strangers, right? But you were open. So I just want to point that out and give you credit for all of that. And I and also ask you, like, so you came up to my apartment that day and to see the tower garden, and what do you remember? And I think you were getting to that. Like, what do you remember about that conversation?
Yes. So the year before I met Laurie, I was hit twice on my bicycle within 3 weeks. First by another cyclist, one of those, the renting a rental bike. And I was knocked out unconscious and suffered some, what you call it, concussion. And then 3 weeks later, when I decided, because I was training for another Ironman, and 3 weeks later, I was hit by a car. And again, got a concussion, muscle damage, C8, C7, skeleton hematoma. There was so much. I had to quit that training for that year because it was like, obviously not worth going on because I couldn't race anymore. So also during this time, being in my 50s, as you women know, going through menopause, I had hot flashes. My energy was extremely low. My fatigueness when I would work out, I had to take naps, and this migraine that was constant on me, it would come like every 3 weeks. I was in bed with just totally shades on my eyes because, and my of course frustration and being angry and not depressed, but kind of get into that and still continue to try to train. So I tried, acupunctures, I tried, doctors. It's funny because one of my medical doctor that I had, I changed doctor after that, but I went back and he said to me, looking at that, you have developed arthritis and you're in this age now. You're never going to be able to be back to before your accident, who you were and your fitness. And then he jokingly said, you might as well take up knitting. And I was like, knitting? Are you kidding? I was like, here I am trying to, in my mindset and focus that I'm going to go to the World Championship. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to start. Like that was totally, anyway. So I left that doctor furious, but I changed my doctor. And so through that year, I was then struggling with this to try to find a way to, what can I do? I had acupuncture, like I said, and different medications and things. And so then I came across Laurie and we were talking. And when she introduced me to the tower garden, I thought, wow, that is so cool because I do not have the green thumbs of things. Maybe I could start growing things and eat, healthier with my own fresh produce. And I had mentioned to her about my energy and things. And she was telling me, well, maybe it is that you're just missing some antioxidant in your body. It's like antioxidants, like, yeah, like you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. And I was like, I felt pretty good coming from Sweden. We have a good balance, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. And I was like, and I was also semi vegetarian. I did eat fish. But what's interesting, I was very anemic as well. So I had raised with a low, that, plus I had high cholesterol from a genetic side from me. So all of these things that were going on in my body. And then she tells me I don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. So I was like, well, and she said, maybe you should try it. So I thought, well, I gave it a try. I started with some fruits and the vegetables, the duo.
Right.
And my energy, I started to feel a little better. It was like that, but didn't feel much. That my migraine didn't go away. I just did not, but I kept on with them. And then after, when I had to order for 4 months later, I decided to do also the berries and then eventually the omegas. But soon as I had started, especially on the berries, I had maybe 6-7 months into been eating these amazing capsules. I started to realize, like, wait, when was the last time I had a migraine? And I didn't take naps. And I was like, what is it? What am I doing interesting? And my blood values of things were starting to like, I was anemic, as my blood iron even had changed. And I just taking these daily. So I was like, well, maybe they are worth to keep on to take. And so as my then recovery is starting from all of the things from the accident, I had several other accidents going through, crashed on my bike on one. I broke my hand on an Ironman, but I finished. And my recovery was amazing. I was like, wow, and it doesn't happen overnight, of course, but think about, you break a hand and you arthritis that he says that I already had from my old injuries. I don't have it anymore. Yes, I'm also very fit. I keep doing my daily activities. I train. And of course, my immune system is stronger. But this, just fueling that body with that whole nutrients has absolutely, I truly believe this is part of my journey that I have during my Ironman, and to qualify to the World Championship and doing it because of that and my own mindset that I had a goal. So yeah, I ended up doing 13 Ironman before I got to go to that I qualified to the World Championship.
Love that. I love that, Jeannette. You know what? And I always say this because you inspire and you scare me at the same time. I tell her that all the time because I'm like, wow, wow. It's very inspirational.
And I know everyone's kind of wondering, I am, did you maintain just consistently taking two capsules of each, or did you increase, or did you take more before you had to go perform? And when did you introduce the Juice Plus Complete?
So every time I do races, normally I always take 3-4 of my berries. That's one thing that I always double every day. Energy as well. Then before races, a week before, I can double, triple all of them. And I just fuel my body absolutely before my races. And my recovery, yes. The Complete is a nutritional powder that I absolutely love because I can mix it with my smoothies. I mix it just to eat it with my granolas. So it's it just, yeah. And that I will tell you more, Cynthia, when it comes to my Ultraman, because that was a lifesaver for me when I did the long endurance one. So after I now finished the World Championship, now I have to tell you, to get to that, I had chased the Ironman all over Europe and United States to win my age group. In many places of them, I had placed 5th, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, but it doesn't count because I have to win it in order to get there. And I could easily have said, oh, shoot, I'm not worth it. But I didn't give up. I kept chasing that dream because I knew I had a chance to do it. So what's interesting, it happens here in Colorado that I won my age group, and that was here in Boulder. And that morning, the thing that I had that changed from the others was my affirmations of being consistent. And my word, now it chokes me out. My word that morning was, I am number one. I am the winner. No one's gonna take this heart, the race from me. And that morning, I was so determined it's gonna be my day. So I went out on a swim. Oh my gosh, I come out of the swim and I look at my watch and I'm like, oh, I was way slower than I had been. And right there, I was like, oh, I could have been like, oh, you dummy, what have you done? You ruined your day. Instead, I went on that bike because I know I am a strong cyclist and I'm freaking chased that bike and had friends and families out there cheering on me, other athletes that I was passing and cheering on. And I got into that bike finish and got on the run course. I had no idea what I had placed myself. I just knew that I probably was going to be in the end because people, my swim was so not, so behind. And I'm coming around on this marathon around mile 8, and I see my first friend there, and she's yelling, Jeannette, you are number 1. You are, keep going, keep going. And I was like, what? And the thing is, it had happened before. And my friend, the athletes, my competition has always passed me. So that's why I ended up 5. It's on the run. It's on the run course. And this time I was like, no one's going to pass me. No one's going to. And I was running, and all I remember being so focused. And I saw all my friends and cheering me, go, Jeannette, go. And the last time, I saw one person there, and it was like my coaching friend. He was telling me, Charlie was saying, Jeannette, sprint now. You got a mile, sprint. And who sprints after a full marathon? I never forget that. And I was like thinking I'm sprinting, but I'll probably like jogging as much as I can to get to that. Soon as I turned that curve and I saw that red mat, the carpet going into the finish line, I was looking behind my shoulder to make sure, like, oh my gosh, I hope no one's gonna pass me. No one's gonna pass me. I get to the finish, and I just lifting up my arms. It's like, I knew I had done it. I knew it. And I bent down and I kissed the carpet. I was so excited that I got to go to the World Championship, and I won my age group. I did it, and I won it with over 15 minutes from the second place. I had no idea how I did that, but I freaking flew on that running. So yeah, that was my finish on that. And I knew I was gonna go, and this was August 2019. Then in October 2019 is where the World Championship is. So all I had, basically, I could do is recovering and just keep training and then do it and get to Hawaii for that. It just, for me, it was the cherry on the top. Basically, I knew I have made it there. I wanted to enjoy that course as much as I could. And it was just absolutely a wonderful feeling to do this. We made it a vacation out of it, stayed in Hawaii just to enjoy this whole week. And then you come home, and the whole fora and all the things that I did. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got all these medals, and I've done it. I accomplished in my life. And then suddenly, okay, now what? I was like, what am I gonna do now? I have like no goal. I've been chasing this for over 8 years. And it was like, I never had that feeling of, oh, what am I gonna do now? I don't wanna do another world championship right now because I feel like I completed that. So COVID happened. And I decided, okay, for now, I'm just gonna go and try some pickleball, do some other sports. I do a few pickleballs, and I tore my meniscus. And I was like, out of all these places, so I tear my meniscus, and it's like the doctor says to me, the orthopedics, well, we're gonna have to remove it because you cannot fix this one. It's like it's torn in 2 places. And I was like, but if you remove it, that means bone on bone. I'm not going to be able to run. It's like, yeah, some people can, but no, probably not. I'm not done. I'm not done in my life. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So instead, I tried to look for some holistic repairs. What can I do? And at this time, I have really gotten into more plant-based. I still eat seafood and some protein, but my levels is totally fine. And I thought, I am just gonna make these. You start off with something like, just totally shredding off of all anti-inflammatory things and start eating clean. Totally focus on that. And I found an amazing physical therapist, and my chiropractor, which Dr. Kayla. She's also an ART. She's always kept me informed for my body shape and get me ready for every race. And I started to heal. And the physical therapist, he was amazing because he believed in me. You got to find somebody that really believes in the same ideas and thoughts that you have. Because if somebody like the doctor that told me to go back to knitting, I would probably have not been what I am today because I would have given up. But my mindset and the whole drive of, hey, I'm soon going to be 60 here. I don't want to end my life. I still have a lot to do in my life. I still want to do goals, and I want to stay fit and live long. I always told myself I want to live past 100. So, hey, what's this? I mean, 60 is nothing, right? So coming COVID, it was a perfect recovery year. And then as the time grew last year, 2022, that was my 60th birthday. So 2021, I started planning, what can I do for my 60th birthday? I wanted an ultimate challenge. And this ultimate challenge happened because I was crewing. I was a crew member for one of my friends that did an Ultraman, which is double the Ironman. And I was there and I was watching her. And at that time I was like, people was like, oh, you think you're going to do one? It's like, never. You crazy? Going back to what I was like, no, that's not for me. But that has started to grow. And now the mindset thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to do something like an Ultraman, I want to do it back in Europe so I can go to Sweden and visit my family and everything. And behold, I found one in Sweden, my hometown, the start over there, and then you race across the country to Stockholm, which is the capital of Sweden. And this race is actually a little longer than the Ultraman. So it's an Ultraman triathlon. It's 386 miles. So you swim 9 miles and a total of 300 miles of 60 miles run. But it's divided into 3 days. So you swim and you bike 220 miles the second day, and you run 60 miles the third day with almost 3 miles swimming. And so I thought, that's what I'm going to do, because it's my hometown. Now I'm back in Sweden and I'm going to do this. And so I had a year to get back into the training. And oh my gosh, I think that was the feeling like, what have I done? I was so nervous. I was like, what have I done? I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? And I was like, absolutely so nervous, but I kept just staying with it. I kept training. I kept doing all these long bike rides for, 7 hours, 8 hours, running for out there, for 8 hours. And, you go out there and you just do it. And you wake up in the morning and you question yourself, okay, why am I doing this? And it's like, because I wanted to have this ultimate challenge in my life, because I felt like I wanted to test and see how my body can do this. And this race, I can't say it was like a race, because it wasn't like an Ironman that you're really pushing yourself. This more was endurance race, right? And you more of an adventure, going out and really being in the moment for everything you go out and do. Except when I was swimming. Oh my gosh, I got seasick and I cramped, and it was horrible. 6 miles of swimming out there in the ocean. But I got it done, and I got on that bike for 120 miles and I went out there. And when it comes to my food and the intake, even during my training days, but this particular 3 days event, I've been start taking this, people saying protein drinks, but this is more than a protein drink. This is plant-based. And there is another one called Perform that has a more protein, but everything is plant-based. And you start thinking, well, I need the B12, I need the nutrients, but I had this saved my whole 3 days for my recovery. Yes, I ate real food. I had, my bike, I throw in a lot of, sandwiches with the almond butter, like that. But that was like the best for soothing my stomach. I had never any GI issues before I even started Juice Plus. Those years, I had realized like whey was one of those products that I would take, and I had so much intestine problem, GI, and so I couldn't. There was like a jungle for me to try to find something how I'm gonna survive for all these things. So this absolutely saved me, and it was very little sleep. It was long. But again, it was lonely. We were only 7 of us. So I didn't have any support except for the biggest support, my husband and my son that was out my sag wagon. They were driving with me and giving me, my food and when I needed to go. And, there is so much to talk about. And ultra, it's like totally different, mindset and long days and how to start and get up in the morning again. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to be on this bike again for 220 miles. And then the third day you think, I'm going to run 60 miles and swim almost 3 miles. But you can't doubt that, because this is where you start thinking, okay, now you're in it. You go and just get up there, and do it. And the last part I wanted to say, like when you go out, I always heard about people saying you got the runner's euphoria, and some are thinking, wow, people see things. I did. It happened to me in the end of the run, maybe when I was in mile 50, 45, 50, I can't recall, but I'm out there all alone. In Sweden, the sun is up much longer, so it was still daylight, but in the forest, it was this meadow, and I was coming across, and I like to talk to myself. Yeah, you're doing great. You're doing good. Just stay with it. Just stay with it. Come on, you can do it. And then the little competitive thing was that I had one girl that was behind me. We were 7 of us, and she was behind me for like, I think 20 minutes behind. So that kept me going. I am not going to be last. I'm not going to be last. And another thing I wanted to add, I was 10 years older than all of them. I was the oldest one. So the other one was in the 40s and 50s, and I was now 60. So that was another one, like, yay me. And but I said, like, I do not want to be last. So that was another thing that kept me going. And here I am, like, coming out on this beautiful field and the trees and everything, and it's just so quiet, and the birds. And I see this unicorn standing there with a colorful, the long horn, looking at me with a beautiful white mane and white, looking at me like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a unicorn. How is a unicorn? And I'm like walking and looking at it, and oh, I can't believe I see a unicorn. This is so cool. This must be a good sign. And I'm coming closer, and then it's a tree stump that has fallen over. I was like, oh my gosh, I actually saw something really weird. But how your brain is just kind of going all over, right? But I was one of the lucky ones, because afterwards, when I talked to some other athletes saying, you're lucky, you saw some good stuff. There was one that told me, I saw some faces on my arm screaming at me. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, okay, so that was good. And then coming into that finish line, this is like the tiniest little thing. You're in the middle of the night, it's dark, and I coming up on the bridge. There's this long bridge on the last few miles, and my son has been out there. I said big kudos to him, because he was a big rock for me, because he would take his bike out there and just ride with me and say, Mom, you can do this. There was one part that I almost felt, I can't, I'm not going to finish. I'm not going to be able to. And I did, because he was there, and he said, it was one time I said, I can't do this. And he was on the phone with me, and he said, Mom, I'm going to come out there on the bike. I'm going to get you. You do not give up, because you are my Iron Mom. You are the Ultra Mom, and you do not give up. And he did. He came out there. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Well, he came out there, and he was like, Mom, let's do this. I'll be with you on your side all the way through the finish. And I had like 10 kilometers left to that finish. And he was with me. And right when you come into the last 10 kilometers, there is this big giant mountain there. I'm like, what is this? And I totally forgot that there is this ski hill in Stockholm. So we had to climb up that big ski hill to get on the top, and then back down on the other side. And here he hauling up his mountain bike while I'm like walking, jogging up to the top and into the finish. And he was with me, and I had my Swedish and my American flag next to me. He was carrying in his backpack. And I said, can I have them? Can I have them? It's like, wait, Mom, we almost there. And at this time I was like pretty much delirious. And I was like, I don't care how far it is. Take me there, take me there. And I was like running to the finish and walking. And finally, it's like, where's this bridge that I know we're going to finish at, coming down and up? And we get up on this bridge. And my husband had just called my son and saying, is she here soon? Yeah, I can track her. Yes, we're almost there. And as he did this, he turned his bike in front of me. And here I am falling right on top of the bike. And I fall down on the ground. And I'm laying there like a bug that I barely can get up because I'm totally exhausted. And then he calls in, to my husband and saying, Mom is down, Mom is down. And I just tell him, help me up. And he grabs my hand, lifts me back up. Are you okay, Mom? Yeah, I'm fine. And I start running into that finish line. Just give me those flags, and ran with that finish line into that finish. And I did it. I'm freaking an Ultraman triathlon finisher. And that was my biggest goal in my life. So
Amazing.
that was my journey.
Amazing. And what a role model you have been for your children. Never give up, never give up. And the parallels, as Lori said, the parallels to our business. You reach a goal and you don't just sit there and be complacent. It's next step. What's my next step? What's my next focus? I love this call. I love your heart. Your energy is just contagious.
Well, you just asked what's my next step. So I am not ending this. I'm doing Berlin Marathon in 6 weeks, Boston next year. And my next goal is to qualify to the World Championship in half Ironman to go to New Zealand next year. So I have a big goal. Plus I have a big goal in my Juice Plus business as well. So I'm all heart, I'm all here. And for you all, if you ever have any questions, want to try a triathlon or a 5K, whatever, just contact me and I give you tips and, for what I'm doing. I'm a coach, I'm a health coach, I'm a mental fitness coach. So that has developed over these years of me, myself, going through a journey that I absolutely love my life.
Let me just ask you real quick in conclusion, what do you think in your background gave you this amazing ability to self-talk and give yourself affirmations and not give up? Is there anything in your background that just said, I'm going to flat out do this?
No, to be honest, I had the lowest self-esteem you would believe. I was very an open and friendly person in growing up and things, but very, very low self-esteem. And by doing things and accomplish things, and it's just started growing. Plus, reading, learning, getting around other motivational people, getting to see possibilities and affirmations. I'm doing meditations of things that something called positive intelligence that I'm working on several times a day to get my mindset, and races before preparation. Visualization is huge. Simply paint the vision. Yes. Oh my gosh, am I painting the vision for my races and doing those things? So yes, that's absolutely, that has developed so much over the years and more stronger over the years when I've been in this community. With this community is amazing, you all. I mean, and now several of my triathlete community joined me today. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming and listening to my story.
Well, and I want to say too, Jeannete, it's because you're open. You're open. You're like, you want to grow. You're open to that from the get-go. So I appreciate you so much. Thanks for sharing this today.
And I just want to say all the what ifs. I mean, as you were talking today, I kept thinking all the what ifs. What if Lori had not opened her mouth and thought enough of you, cared enough to share the Tower Garden, which led into Juice Plus? And then what if you'd listened to that doctor that told you to just knit? What if? Actually, I think he drove you, he was the impetus to say, I'll show you. So all those what ifs and all the setbacks, because we're all vulnerable to setbacks, but you took each setback and you wouldn't allow it to get you down. Jeannete, you could be a main stage presenter. This was so from the heart. We love you. We appreciate you. We're cheering you on. And when you come to Boston, I'm right here for you, girl. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll get this recording out. Thank you, Jeannette.
Thank you all.